Regret won't change who you are. Last you take its lessons to follow God. For the road gets rough, look up, for you've had enough. Change yourself, only to blame your mistakes on the choices you've made. Come back from your lonely stand, come back, face the world you left. Carousel, spin over our heads, come share the sunshine. Your life has light, my life won't change at all. Last time, live what I was given, for I give up, live more. This life is enough. Carousel, spin over our heads, come share the sunshine. Your life has light, your life has light, your life has light.
Here in Butte County, it's easy to see how isolated we really are. In the past 2 decades, the pace of life has rapidly picked up. And with our days fully scheduled and rooted in routine, there simply isn't enough time for anyone else. We live in a time of busyness and apathy, an age of individualism where personal struggles and consumerism run rampant. However, since our modernized process of socialization enforces and fuels social isolation, it becomes seen as normal and thus invisible to everyone. Now, we can look at social isolation in a number of different ways. We can recognize its symptoms and understand social isolation as an ailment, an affliction spreading epidemically through our society, causing both physiological and psychological damage. Or we can see social isolation as a trend, an evolution of society in response to the acceleration and increased competitiveness of our lives. Or finally, we can look at social isolation as a mechanism for control, used regularly by corporations and governments through venues such as mass media and advertising, all in order to perpetuate a solid consumer base.
Oh, 'tis sad to be parted from those that we love. Strange faces we see every day. Each heartstring of mine is broken in time. When I think of those dear ones at home. Goodbye, dear old Scout.
It's natural for me to feel social isolation. The appearance language is totally different. And sometimes I was verbally abused when I was working. I have guessed before coming to America that I might experience such a thing. But actually, after I experienced it, it was so shocking. I couldn't understand why did they speak ill of me. So it was sad, but I had no choice but to ignore them.
But I will be gone to roam o'er this wide world alone.
Social isolation as an ailment can often be misunderstood and underrated. However, it is important to acknowledge both the psychological and physiological effects of having little or no interaction with other human beings. Those experiencing isolation can often show signs of depression, anxiety, rage, problems with impulse control, as well as an impaired ability to think, concentrate, or remember. Social isolation can be so detrimental that our society uses it as an ultimate means of punishment in the form of our prison systems. To isolate an individual is to deny them the ability to ask questions, to seek reasoning, to reaffirm their perceptions as well as to validate themselves. Without the ability to do these things, it becomes difficult for an individual to define themselves, their environment, and their relation to that environment. Prolonged isolation has also been shown to have several severe physiological effects, including impaired hearing and vision, tendinitis, weakening of the immune system, tendencies towards violence, as well as attempts towards suicide. Only after understanding the effects of social isolation on the body and mind can we acknowledge the potential danger that exists, and we can begin to not only see but break down components of our lives that promote social isolation.
I did a survey of 50 different people and asked questions about social isolation, and we found out various different things. A lot of the stuff that I learned was basically that people abuse technology when it could be a really good thing, but we're starting to abuse it, and people are so comfortable being socially isolated that they don't even realize that they are socially isolated. And also, people are in denial that they're guilty of socially isolating themselves. And I think one of the most interesting questions that I asked was, do you ever pretend to be on the phone when you're around strangers so that you don't have to make eye contact? And most people said no. And it was interesting because I looked around campus and I saw 20, 30 people who were on their phone. And it was obvious. So Brad had the idea to change the question to, do you ever see people who are pretending to be on their phone, or do you ever know of people who do that kind of thing? And every single person I surveyed said yes. Another question I asked was, do you wish you had more friends? And the answers were about 50-50, which I thought was kind of strange, because you can always use more friends, and it's, again, just proving that people were so comfortable in their own little isolated groups that they don't want to meet more people. Another question I asked was, how often do you use MySpace or Facebook as your form of communication? And an overwhelming response was very often. And I think it's kind of sad because people are spending hours and hours on MySpace talking to someone that they could actually be hanging out with. And it's kind of become a norm, and it's acceptable. And it's just kind of sad because we're abusing technology when it could be a really good thing that connects us. And this social isolation is kind of contagious, and we need to find tactics to solve it.
We seem to have found ourselves in quite the predicament. The inventions we idolize, the technology we admire, has enabled us to do things faster than ever before. But as our lives speed up, we only find ourselves running out of time. In our attempts to become calculative and efficient, like the machines we adore, we have lost the one thing that makes us human, which is the ability to feel. Sometimes we can get too caught up in this. Our daily lives get so ingrained with television and texting and YouTube this or MySpace that, it can be hard to see what's around us, and even harder to imagine something different.